Good evening. The views and opinions of guests on this program, Adventures into the Strange, are not necessarily the views and opinions of the host, staff, crew, or parent company, Go Shield Entertainment Group, LLC. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the program. Well, Adventures into the Strange really isn't a misnomer. That's what our legal description is. But due to circumstances way beyond my control, we got shot down the tubes yesterday, and it does appear like everything is functioning as it should. So in that case, I want you to welcome Richard G. Medlock, the guy I call Mr. Wizard, because he knows everything. Take it away, Richard.
Good afternoon. This is Tuesday. It's May 5th, 2015. Hello, Tucklow. How are you doing?
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo. And there's a lot of confusion about what they celebrate. And later in the program, we're going to explain to you and straighten up that confusion. So, but there's other important things to get to. If I had a sombrero, I'd have worn one today, but I don't have one. I've got on my bright yellow shirt though, so that should help.
Yeah.
And then actually after the show, I'm going to Cinco de Mayo party nearby here, and it's being catered by a Mexican restaurant. So hey, free Mexican food. I'm all for it. So, but we're basically going to pick up where we left off Thursday night. The thing in Baltimore is getting deeper and deeper. I don't want to use the word worse.
Well, you wear your hip boots in circumstances like that, Bubba.
I tell you. But the comments, I'm going to read some of the comments of people that are supposedly leaders in the black community. It's going to blow your mind. I read one the other night from the new Black Panther leader, and then the former Black Panther leader came out with a comment, and on and on and on. I mean, it's just, I know where they're trying to go with this, but it's pushing them further back in the fight than moving them forward. But I want to start out, and Tucklow, I know you're going to tell me you know this guy, but this weekend, one of the greats, Ben E. King, passed away. He was 76. And did you know him?
Actually, I never met the man, but I have stolen his licks since I was a kid, man.
Okay. So now that he's passed away, you can admit that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He might sue me. As a matter of fact, one of the songs I was going to put on the board tonight is one that I stole from him, but we won't do that.
All righty. And I wish we could play his music, but under the agreement with YouTube, we can't do that. But he had some great hits. His biggest hit was Stand By Me. Now, I've got to admit this. This was back in my era, Tucklow's era, where there was just great music back then. Benny King, where did he start singing? Which group?
I don't know.
He was the lead singer for the Drifters.
That's right. You're right.
Yeah, and they did a version of Stand By Me. Now, with the Drifters, he was Benjamin E. King, not just Benny King. His real name is Benjamin Earl Nelson from Henderson, North Carolina. And Henderson is northwest of Durham, where Duke University is. And I've got a lot of family in Henderson, a ton of great aunts and uncles and cousins and all that stuff. So, but anyway, when he was 9, they moved to New York, basically Harlem, and that's where he got his start. But other hits of his, There Goes My Baby, Spanish Harlem. Folks, these are classics. If you're not familiar with Ben E. King's music, the younger generation out there, just Google him. Google the Drifters. This is phenomenal music. And I can tell you right now, these songs were played over and over at school dances. and other dances. So there's great music to listen to him. But another great has passed on. Another one, B.B. King, the great jazz guitarist.
Yeah, and I do know BB, but go ahead.
Yeah, but he is in hospice at home, and it could be any time now that he passes away. His health, he's a diabetic, and his health hasn't been good for several years now. So we wish the best for him also. But we like to recognize these greats on this program. I know Tucklow does his music program, but these are just great performers and musicians, and they're great people. Uh, and we just want to honor them as they pass on. And our thoughts and prayers go out to their family members. It's just it brings me chills thinking about his music, and I've got his music in my music stuff, music files. I listen to it all the time. And then, of course, it's very simple. Why we're here. Welcome to World Reality, and we're here to entertain. I'm sorry, let me start over. We're here to educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower. And I have to take this back. We're not the most politically incorrect program anymore. The program that played the Black Power radio is the most politically incorrect, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'd like to know, here's my question. I meant to ask this last week. Hashim and Zinga went on Black Power Radio, used the foulest of language. And where's the FCC?
Waiting for us to do something.
Yeah. They were just, if we use that kind of language on this program, you would never, ever see us or hear us again. I can promise you that. And that's why I counseled you, go read his comments that have been cleaned up. Don't go listen to the video. Unless you're that type of person, I don't know. But anyway, we can't say we're the most politically incorrect. We have some newcomers to the GOP presidential race. Ben Carson, Dr. Ben Carson, started yesterday, announced his candidacy yesterday, along with Carly Fiorina, the former CEO of Hewlett Packard. Two brilliant people. And I liked what Dr. Carson said. I'm not a politician, so I will not be politically correct. So he says, I don't know what that is to start with. Miss Fiorina knows how to run a business. She knows how to maintain a budget. She knows how to innovate. And she also knows how to streamline, which she had to do a few years ago to save Hewlett Packard. A lot of people have come out and attacked her yesterday because of all the people she laid off at Hewlett Packard when she was CEO. She laid them off, folks, because they were dead weight. And because Hewlett Packard was hurting, their sales were down, their earnings were down. So when you do that, the market system says you lay off people, you cut your expenses. And that's not the only thing she cut. She saved Hewlett Packard. I have to give her a lot of credit for that. And then today, which was no surprise to anybody, Mike Huckabee jumped back into the race. He did this in 2008, and he was probably the driving force that kept Mitt Romney from becoming the candidate for president on the GOP side, 2008. What happened with Huckabee, he went out there, he was getting a little bit of the votes in the primaries. But what it was, he was taking from Mitt Romney. He wasn't taking that many from McCain. Well, at one point, Huckabee, his campaign ran out of money and he was going to drop out. And the McCain campaign came over and says, no, 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 no. If you drop out, all your religious followers are going to jump on the Romney bandwagon and we'll lose them, and Romney will win the nomination. Because he was kicking them pretty good in the primaries. So the McCain campaign paid for Huckabee and his campaign from that point on, and that's what kept Romney from being the candidate in 2008, which at that time, I firmly believe Romney would have beaten Obama, and Obama would have never gotten office. These are little things that people forget that took place within the Republican Party in 2008. And there were some things in 2012 that the RNC did that hurt Romney. The smart thing would have been, let's run a McCain-Romney ticket. And then when McCain bows out, you've got Romney to step in and do a couple of terms. We've got to have 4 terms of a Republican president. And if history, folks, I mean, look at the difference it would have made in America and even the world, because we've seen what Obama has done just in the Middle East. The total chaos and war over there because of his policies. So those are some things we're looking at. I've got to, Tucker, we do this program because we got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
We don't have some fancy foundation. And of course, this is a quote from Bill Clinton. I got to pay the bills, talking about his $500,000 speaking fees he's getting. That really resonates with the middle class and poor people, doesn't it? Oh, you get $500,000 a speech and you got to pay the bills? Wow, boy, that gives us confidence. But look at the strategy here. They can't send Hillary out, can they? Hillary will not answer questions. She has yet to sit down for an interview with any news network. And where they've tried to ask her questions, they get shut down. She just comes out, does her spiel, and then leaves. She doesn't want questions. So the strategy here, let's send out Bill. They really like Bill. And a lot of Democrats still love Bill. He's still the king of the hill. So send him out, let him gobbledygook this thing, and it'll go away. Yeah, we'll see. But it's a great strategy. And let Hillary go out and make her, stupid comments about stupid things. I think she's worse than Obama as far as a teleprompter. Anyway, my point there. All right.
Well, one thing about Hillary, she knows where all the bodies are buried.
Well, she and Bill do too. It's both of them. And there's a lot of bodies, folks. And it's not just dead bodies. There's a lot of people that got buried in business and in politics and so forth because of the Clinton machine. And a lot of people are sitting there going, there's no way Hillary can get elected president. Ladies and gentlemen, do not ever underestimate the power of the Clinton political machine. Never, ever underestimate it. I don't care what the polls are saying right now. She could be down to 0 support and she would win an election. It's that scary, and they've got the money. More information has come out about their charities. They don't have just one charity foundation. You know how many they have now so far that they found, Tucklow?
Have no clue.
13. 13 foundations.
You and I need to start our own charity. The Richard and Tucklow Need Money charity.
Yeah, the On the Air charity.
There you go.
Yeah. The problem in a lot of, in 99% of the cases, this charity would already be under investigation. Their assets would have already been frozen, especially when you hear that only around 10% of the money they take in is going out to charity. Because you have to give, it has to be over 75% to be legitimate. And the government goes around every day shutting down charities that don't give money away. It's just like if you have a raffle and you sell raffle tickets and you say, okay, we're going to give away a 60-inch LED Wi-Fi flat screen, and you only give away a 19-inch, you're in trouble because you said 60-inch. So now we're looking at this. Like I said, in most cases, they would have already been in there, had the books opened and everything. What's going on? Nothing. And a lot of people think nothing will happen. And then, of course, Bill Clinton came out today and said, oh, it's all the accountant's fault. You know, I just travel around the world and meet all these young ladies and take them to my bedroom at night. I don't know what's going on with that money. So we just live in a world that a certain amount of them, the power people, write their own rules. There is no rule of law with them. It's what suits them at the time. And that's where we live today. Us little people have to obey the rules, but not the big people. The 1%, 2%, whatever you want to call them. These are the power players. They're the ones that are sitting at the seat and will be sitting at the seat if there's ever a one world government. And they're the ones that will be sitting there. I know we have 2 or 3 minutes before the break.
Well, we got 6 minutes till the break.
How much?
6 minutes till
6
the break.
minutes. Okay. Then I want to talk about the Kentucky Derby Saturday. I don't know how many of you follow horse racing. I love horses. My wife was raised with horses. She used to ride in rodeos growing up. She was part of those that come out in the parades and stuff, and parades around at first, and does all the streamers and all that stuff. And we got some cute stories about Little Belle doing that too. And she still has her little uniform, pink uniform and boots and all that she wore. It's really cute. And I can promise you it doesn't fit today because she was small at the time. But
Boy,
that was a good save, wasn't it?
You did something stupid there. You know,
I did, but I saved it. This is when she was young. They're her preteens and early teens. So anyway, Kentucky Derby. Almost saved it. If all of a sudden you see an explosion, my head goes kaboom, and I'm off the air, you know why. Kentucky Derby, American Pharoah was the winner. Now, I was pulling for Dortmund. Dortmund was the grandson of Big Ben, Kentucky Derby winner a few years ago. Huge horses, just huge. And it led most of the way, but Dortmund was overcome by American Pharoah, and I can't remember the name of the other horse, but it did come in third. Dortmund came in third, but American Pharoah won. The jockey, Victor Espinoza, this was his 4th Kentucky Derby win, 2nd in a row. Now, there's not a lot of jockeys that can say that. Now, this guy is an amazing story. And I'm telling you this to lead into some other things, probably about what's going on in Baltimore. But Victor grew up in Mexico. He loved horses, didn't have horses. He drove a bus until he was 17 years old to save his money to pay his own way to jockey school. And it was interesting that the reporter was interviewing him right after the race. They're still on the horses, still cooling the horses down. The reporter goes up and asked him, and she was telling his story. And she says, "What was your driving force?" And he says, "I wanted to be successful, and I was going to do whatever I needed to be successful. And if that took driving a bus or whatever it took to be successful, I was going to do it, and I was going to work as hard as I could to be successful." Now, those are inspiring words, ladies and gentlemen, because you don't get to the top of anything without dedication and work. Now, if you're wondering, that picture right over that shoulder is a picture of Churchill Downs. That was my mother's picture. It's actually a print. And she loved horse. She always wanted to go to the Kentucky Derby, and we never made it. But anyway, they had like 170,000 people there Saturday. 170,000 people. But going back to Victor Espinoza, here's a kid from Mexico. I'm going to do what it takes to be successful. And he's at the top of his game now. But he did it on his own. So, and he had a talent, he knew it, and he took advantage of it. A great inspiration story. Not like some of the stories we're seeing in Baltimore right now. That's not the music, is it? I'm hearing something, but that's not the break music, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay. That's the break. Okay. All right. See, I was almost on time. All right. We're going to our first break. We will be right back. So don't go anywhere. Tucklow will take care of all of this and bring us back.
And we're back with Richard G. Medlock. I was going to say Medhouse. Medlock.
I've been called worse. All right.
On the
Thank
brain.
you. Yeah. All right. We are back. Tucklow plays some great music. Let me carry on with the Clintons a little bit because, Hillary came out this Clinton cash thing and came out and says, it's no big deal, right? Big deal. This Peter Schweitzer's book, he's right now working on one going after Jeb Bush and his money trail. So that can be interesting. And it's interesting that Jeb Bush has not declared his presidency yet. He's out there doing all this filling around and raising money. I don't know what he's going to do. I really don't care. I will not support Jeb Bush. I put he and Hillary in the same political spectrum. So Hillary Clinton says it is no big deal about Clinton cash. Well, then why are they going out there and they're setting up a video to a 2.5-minute video to go after it? They're setting up a organization, and all it's supposed to do is attack these charges. Now, it will not be under the Clinton name per se, but it will be. I got to get her out of there. She's trying to talk. But they set up a machine. They're putting millions of dollars into it to fight these accusations, but it's no big deal. So you decide that a good strategy is sending Bill Clinton out to get front and center ahead of this and deflect it away from Hillary, because he's just as much involved as she is. So will he come out at the last minute and say, look, it was all me. She had nothing to do with it. We never see each other. I don't know what she's doing, and she doesn't know what I'm doing and how many girls I'm with and all this stuff. So
he doesn't know how many girls Hillary's with either. So
yeah, so we go from there. All right, let's talk about the economy. The economy, folks, will not go away. The negative news.
The economy is going away. That's the problem, Richard.
It is going away, and not just in the United States. But let me give you some numbers that just came out today, and I'm going to try to explain one because there's a lot of conflict on that number and how people are interpreting it. But economic confidence down to -9. Last month it was -3. It took a 1-month jump of 6 points down. That's huge, folks. That is huge. Another thing to look at, and we talked about it last week, the GDP was plus 0.2%, and they're already coming out. I haven't heard one person yet come out and say, under the revision, the next number, it will be a negative anywhere from -0.3 to 0.5 to -3. Nobody is on the plus side here. And the Atlanta Fed, which correctly predicted, they were predicting a 0 to 0.3 plus GDP, and it was 0.2. They were dead on in their prediction. Now they're predicting second quarter to be 0.9. That's still no growth, folks. And it might come in, second quarter might go negative, just like the first. There's a lot of things not happening out there. Now, okay, economic confidence down to -9. That's not good. Next month, it's probably going to go down again. Oil today closed above $60 a barrel. I filled up with gas yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. Today's Tuesday. And in the last 5 weeks, gas prices in my area have gone up 27%. Now, Thursday, I told you they'd only gone up 18%, and I expected them to go up over the weekend, and they did. So 27% in the last 5 weeks. You won't hear that number reported in inflation. And this is why. They're using the baseline of 2008, the over $4 for a gallon of gasoline. They're using that as their figure. Anything below that is a negative toward inflation. So it's got to go over $4 a barrel, whatever it was, and just over $4 before they will add that into inflation. Go figure, right? But when it drops, they figure it in the inflation numbers. Can you believe that? Boy. All right. So oil is climbing for a number of reasons. Middle East, they're saying the reserves are getting lower because production is down, et cetera, et cetera. But use is still not up, still about the same. This year, retail stores are going to close over 1,600 stores nationwide. Well, it's more than that because, well, that was first of the year, Radio Shack. That doesn't include Radio Shack. They had like 2,100 stores. Now, some of those stores were picked up by other vendors, but still, Radio Shack is gone, folks. So we're sitting here looking at just negative numbers. The market was down 142 today, just slowly kept going down and down and down all day. And the confidence in the stock market is waning because, like I said last week, people are starting to look at fundamentals of a company instead of what the Fed is doing. And this could turn things around real fast. Corporate earnings are not good right now. But the big number that came out today was the trade deficit. Whoops. It jumped 43% to 51.4 billion from like 34 billion the month before. Now they're saying, oh, that's great. That's super. Look at all. That means that a whole ton of stuff was imported into the United States, 51 billion more than what was exported. That sounds really good. Oh, great. The consumer is demanding things and consumer spending is going to pick up. Total, absolute misconception. And it was done on purpose. Here's the truth about the trade deficit. In February and March, the ports on the West Coast were on strike, shut down. Nothing came into those ports for like 6 weeks. There were hundreds of ships sitting off the coast, just docked, not docked, anchored off the coast, waiting to unload. Well, when the dock strike was settled, then those ships started coming in. Well, all of them couldn't come in at once. So now all of a sudden, all that stuff that was sitting out there for 4 or 6 weeks is now flooding the market. So it's not, yeah, it's big. And next month, it's probably going to go way down. But that's the real reason that number jumped, because it was sitting off the coast. They couldn't unload it. Hello? That's not hard to figure out, folks. But again, let's give them this really good story about, look at everything we've imported. Consumers are ready to buy. They want to start spending the money they saved on gas prices, et cetera, et cetera. I'm tired of hearing that money people saved on gasoline prices. I'm just sick of that. And they're still using it, folks. So that explains that number. Here's another thing that's not boding well with some of the people in the market is mortgage lenders. This was on Fox News today. And I saw the article and I said, this is great. We've been telling you about this for a long time on this program. Mortgage lenders are now doing subprime loans again. It's called something else because they don't want to lend at 3.8% or 3.6%. They want to lend at 8, 9, 10, 11%. And that's what they're charging subprimers because they'll make money there. But these are people that wouldn't qualify otherwise for a regular mortgage. The banks are just pushing those like crazy because the government, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, organized under the Dodd-Frank bill, and Elizabeth Warren was the first head of that, set up all these guidelines and started forcing banks to start lending again under subprime rules. So, and it's really not helping the market, folks. It's not helping the mortgage market one bit. The same thing in the auto industry. And last month, in April, the auto industry took a major hit. Sales were way down, despite the fact that 25 to 30% of their sales are subprime loans.
Does that mean I can go borrow a few $1 million and not have to pay it back?
Absolutely.
Good. I'll
Absolutely.
see. I'm going now before the bank closes.
You don't have to put up collateral. You just go in there and say, look, I'm just some poor guy and I can't repay this loan. Oh, you can't repay it? Great. Here it is. Anyway. And so here we go again. We're going back to the mid 2000 era, 2003 to 2007, 2008. And this is exactly what caused the bubble in real estate that led us to where we are today. Now, the recession, folks, is still here. Look at the numbers. Basically, all we've done since 2009, when Obama that summer said the recession is over, all we've done is bottom bounced. We just bounce off the bottom a little bit, go back, bounce off the bottom. And when you look at the numbers, since 2009, 80% of that period, we have been in a recession. Not a recovery, but technically in a recession. Now, these are scary thoughts. And last month, every month we report the National Federation of Independent Business Index, the NFIB, and Dr. Duckelberg is the CEO, and he's been doing this since 1973. And last month, all 10 elements were negative, and they were negative big time. Never before has that happened, even in 2008 and 2009. So that's another thing to look at. We're still in recession era under his guidelines, and they're strong guidelines. So that's at 95.2. Anything below 100 is in a recession era. 3/4 of respondents, a small business, this was a recent online poll, reported business was either good, flat, or at recession levels, while only 1/4 allowed businesses said business was very good. So only 1/4. Yeah, in bad times, companies do well. I've got a friend here in this area. His business over the last several years has just grown like crazy. And it's phenomenal. I mean, he's worldwide, but he was a small company and now he's international. Yeah, there are companies out there with their marketing, with their product, with their prices, they're going to grow. 2/3 reported their greatest impediment to success was either the economy or the government, specifically dysfunction in taxes and regulations. We've been telling you this for a long, long time. The government is the #1 reason why we don't have growth. Wow. How about that? Meanwhile, both the Dow and the NASDAQ have reached record highs in the first quarter because they're playing off the fact, what are the Feds going to keep doing for us versus the fundamentals? Now, I get tired of people, I really do, these so-called experts sitting there saying the market's at all-time highs. Oh, now's the time to put your money in. Well, let me ask you this. Why are all or most of the big boys right now selling almost all of their positions in stock? I'm serious, folks. I had a friend sent me he called me. He says, George Soros is selling out of Microsoft and Intel and what was the other one? Can't remember. But all big companies. And I said, he's taking his profits. He thought there was something sinister in it. Hey, there's nothing sinister, folks, in taking profits. All right. Even though Soros owes $7 billion in taxes. We'll have to leave it at George Soros owing taxes because it's time for our next break. And we're just warming up. Thank you, Tucklow. Take it away.
And we're back with Richard, whatever his middle name is, Medlock. And take it away, Richard.
Yeah, the middle name is Golden.
Yours too, huh?
Yeah.
My son Nicholas's middle name is Golden.
Yeah. Well, mine's not Golden. I just made that up. So.
Okay.
All right. Continuing with what's going on with the U.S. economy and other economies around the world, because Europe just stinks right now. They continue to stink. Greece, they don't know what to do with Greece. China's slowing down. It's really crazy out there. But anyway, the United States in general and the middle class needs a thriving Main Street economy. We don't need a thriving Wall Street. That's not an economy, folks. All right, that's people putting money in their pocket, and that's it. But the Main Street economy is what hurts. Again, we stretch this out. The anti-business policies and rhetoric coming out of Washington. Everything they throw out there. If we just took the EPA regulations alone, period, not counting FCC, what's the other one? I can't even think now. But you start taking all these regulations being thrown out there. Number one, it's costing trillions of dollars to meet these regulations, which is trillions of dollars that could be being put into the economy by the private sector, which is going to create jobs. But no, Washington doesn't want that. Major corporations and Wall Street driving share prices up by financial manipulation rather than investing in the marketplace. Now, there's pros and cons to that, okay? Financial manipulation, I've talked about this over and over. Oh, they beat the estimated guess that we thought it was going to do. Fine, they lowball their guess, their estimate. Oh, we beat the estimate. Oh, but our earnings were down 4%, but we beat the estimate. Your earnings are down 4%. Why should I invest in your stock right now? All right. The other thing, the side that we have to look at, and it's because of the government policies and so forth, is the money they're making, they're sitting on. They're not investing it. They're not going out and buying new factories, investing in new technologies, investing in people to come in and grow. And now one of the things, let's take a look at Walgreens. Walgreens was buying this company overseas in France, I believe it was, Allegiant or something like that. They're going to buy it and move their world headquarters to France. Well, the administration came down, they threatened Walgreens, you leave the country, we're going to da-da-da-da and all this stuff. And it was called the tax inversion policy. Walgreens wasn't going to shut down one business in the United States. They were going to save almost $500 million the first year in taxes. But because of the administration putting pressure on them, the SEC put pressure on, everybody put pressure on, they said, okay, we'll buy the company, but we'll keep our headquarters in the United States and remain a United States corporation. So what did Walgreens announce last month? They're closing a bunch of stores, laying off a bunch of people so they can save $500 million this year. See how that works? That's the type of policies that we are fighting right now coming out of Washington. That's what's killing the economy. That's what's keeping people from actually trying to go out there and start a business. Well, why should I go out there and start a business when it's going to cost me an arm and a leg just to get started, and then I don't have any money to expand? But anyway, you do have corporations, they're sitting on their cash. Let's take Apple. Here's a good example. Apple reported their earnings last week, their record earnings, so forth. But then the stock started going down because of their Apple Watch, which is a joke. Okay, it doesn't work right, and it cost them $80 to make. They're selling it for 500 and something. But it's an Apple product, but their sales aren't what they'd like them to be. Anyway, Apple reported their earnings. Apple reported, which they have to do, they have $194 billion sitting in cash. Not all of that is in the United States, but they have $194 billion in cash sitting there. Now, some people are saying, you can't have that much money. Why not? Isn't this a capitalistic nation and a free market enterprise? You can have as much as you want. You can make as much as you want, and you can spend as much as you want. It's your money, right? It's the corporate's money. It's our money that we earn, that we get back on investments, right? It's our money, right? No, the government is trying to macroprudential manage what everybody does, what you make, what you produce, how much and when. So here's all this attack on Apple about their $194 billion. And I'm sitting there going, you know what? If they've got $194 billion, that means they know how to manage their budgets. So here's my proposal. Why don't we have the people that manage the budgets at Apple go manage the budgets out of Washington, D.C.? Maybe we'll end up with more money instead of deficits, that will be on the plus side instead of the negative side. You think that might work? You think they're going to let Apple go do something like that? You think the people in Washington are going to turn that budget over to the private sector? Oh, heaven forbid. And you know, we're going to keep seeing deficits, and the budget, trade, or the deficits and the debt just continue to go and go. Now, there's a difference between the debt and the deficit. The deficit is the negative spending per year, and the debt is the deficits continually accumulating. So we're over 18 trillion, and adding to it, I think they said in April the deficit was over 40 billion, with a just over, record number of taxes being paid in. So this is where we are, folks. Doesn't look good. And if you're wondering why I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes to see where I want to go next and make sure I didn't miss anything. And I did miss a couple of things. McDonald's. McDonald's isn't doing well. They used to be a bellwether. And McDonald's, up till last year, continued to do okay in their same store sales in the United States and around the world. They were doing okay. They were either flat or increasing a little bit. Last year, their sales started going negative. Well, people started blaming it on their menu. Well, it's not the menu, folks. They've had that menu for umpteen years. And they've got a few good things. I love their grilled chicken sandwich. It's really good. I like it. And it's on a special bun. It's really good. But, it's probably been 2 years since I've eaten it. But McDonald's announced they're going to close. They've never done this before. 900 stores. 900 stores, ladies and gentlemen. McDonald's. And, they're getting hit. The employees, or so-called employees, most of them are union workers from SEIU, come out and picket in front of McDonald's. Oh, we want $15 an hour to flip a burger, to put French fries into boiling hot water and take them out and put them in a little packet. Oh, $15 an hour. That's hazard pay, being around that hot oil, Okay, it's hazard pay to keep taking money from people, because who knows what kind of germs is on it. That's hazard pay, okay? So McDonald's is going to close 900 stores, and they're going to install 2,000 self-order machines in restaurants. Right now, 2,000. You go in, click, 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 put in your card or your cash, and you're done. And you just sit there and wait for your order to be brought out. Now, would McDonald's be doing that right now if the unions weren't attacking them left and right? There's ways around all this. And McDonald's is finding the way. Now, if they develop a robot that can cook their hamburgers and piece them together, why not go mechanical? This is what happens when socialism tries to force their policies down a free enterprise market. People lose jobs. They don't get jobs, they lose jobs. Now, I made a comment to a friend of mine who owns his own business and has about 25, 30 employees. And I was talking to him and I says, we're making headway. He says, what do you mean? And I says, well, the Democrats have proposed a new bill to raise the minimum wage to $12 an hour instead of $15. I said, so they're backing down. And he just shook his head and he says, I'm still going broke if they raise it to $12 an hour. Let the market dictate what employers pay, because it varies from different regions of the country. Let the market dictate that, and it will work out just fine, I promise you. It did for years and years and years. All right, Netflix. Remember, Netflix was the driving force in the FCC ruling to go to net neutrality. They're the ones that falsely claimed that their streams were being choked by big providers like AT&T and Verizon, etc. And, total lie. It came out at the end that it was a lie, but net neutrality was passed, which it was happening one way or the other. So now, last week or the week before, Comcast and Time Warner, they had been under agreement to merge. Comcast was going to buy Time Warner Cable. Well, the FCC and some senators went out, did the interviews, did their studies, and came back and says, we recommend this doesn't take place. So the FCC started putting pressure on those two, and Comcast withdrew its offer. Okay, fine and dandy. That deal's done. Now, Charter Communications is looking at trying to go in and buy Time Warner. They had made an offer, but Comcast came in and outbid them. So now we have AT&T and DirecTV are in a contract to merge. AT&T, DirecTV. This will make them the largest phone carrier and internet provider and TV provider. Wow. Comcast and Time Warner were only going to be the third largest. They got shut down. So here's AT&T, here's DirecTV, and guess who shows up? That's right, Netflix. Netflix has urged and recommended to the FCC not to allow this merger to take place. They're afraid it's going to hurt them. Now remember, AT&T, DirecTV, Dish Network, Verizon fought against this net neutrality and have all come together, among others, and filed a massive lawsuit against the FCC on this net neutrality. So here's Netflix, who is supposedly a winner in this thing, going out there saying, wait a minute, you can't do this. Even though Netflix stock is the highest it's ever been, and their earnings are the highest it's ever been. And they're afraid if AT&T and DirecTV get together. So are we looking at crony capitalism here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we looking at a major corporation having a lot of say-so over what a government regulation does or an agency does? Looks that way, doesn't it? And Tekla, you okay?
Yeah, just yawning. My neighbor called me while I was on the air to let me know, asked me if we had water here, and it's barely running. So evidently they chopped through a water line. So,
well, at least they didn't get your streamline like what happened yesterday. Tucker went to start his program yesterday, and then all of a sudden he just went dead. And you tell him what happened.
Well, San Francisco, they have the main carrier for me has a receiving tower and a sending tower, and they're a mile apart. I've never heard of such a thing because normally your transponder's right there, like my local network, Arbuckle Communications. They've got a deal about the size of a TV antenna, antique TV antenna, on top of a water tower, and it carries a 2 county area, no problem. Go in here and I can have people on the computers while I'm doing the radio show or whatever, no problem. But out there, evidently somebody chopped through a bunch of fiber optic lines and it shut me right down. And that's part of this net neutrality, folks. I can't use local providers for the show on part of it. I can on some of it, like Arbuckle Communications, but they can't supply everything for the other streams. So we had to go overseas, and they have American affiliates here. Their parent company's overseas, but their equipment is here in the United States, and that's how we got around net neutrality. Well, you pay a price whenever the government gets involved in something.
Boy, we do. They smack us down all the time. So I'll stop it with the videos. Anyway, if I can stop, can you hear that, Tucklow?
I hear it real well. Can you hear that?
Yep, because it's time for a break. There, I got it to stop. It's time for a top of the hour break, I believe. And we'll be right back. We got a couple more things to cover and call it a day. But we're not calling it a day now.
John F. Kennedy said, "Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other." At Empower Training Group, we take John Kennedy's counsel very serious. As a leader, you are striving to be the best at what you do and help others do the same. But a leader cannot stand still in knowledge or effort to accomplish those goals. Our course on sensible leadership is designed and structured to brighten your path and stretch your thinking to maximize the already leadership skills you use every day. Empower Training Group is not limited to leadership training. Our developmental courses are a diverse selection to educate in improving communication skills, team building, team management, how to become a leader or manager, and train the trainer. We develop the courses to meet your goals and expectations. We direct our instruction to your specific audience or employees' needs, and we are not limited to those courses listed above. Empower Training Group also instructs and certifies in health and safety courses. These are OSHA-approved courses to prepare your staff and employees for emergency situations. We can also arrange to conduct these courses online. Information on Empower Training Group can be found at www.richardmedlock.org or email at empowertg@gmail.com. Richard Medlock says, "Leadership is not about power. Leadership is about empowerment."
play one out of my private stash. And yeah, folks, that's my old band. We're back with Richard G. Medlock. Take it away, brother.
Thank you, Chuck Lowe. And also, not only my website, but you can go to twitter.com/Money Talk USA and see a lot of the things that I post on there, and keep up with what I keep up with. It gets very, very interesting. And people, you might pull up something and say, why would he believe this? It might be something I don't agree with, but I'm putting it out there for people to see what's going on. Because there's been some crazy comments lately, especially about Baltimore. But I want to talk about Cinco de Mayo Day. There's a lot of confusion about why they celebrate Cinco de Mayo. And as a matter of fact, in Mexico, this is not a big holiday. And one story is that they beat the French, the French and English and Spain, because they defaulted on their debt they owed them. The other one was 50 years earlier with another battle that took place with called Grito de Dolores, and that was in 1810 versus 1860, and all this stuff. I mean, it goes back and forth, and they celebrate it at different times during the year, depending on which part of the country you're in. It's bigger in the U.S. than it is in Mexico. Let's put it that way. But we want to help you end any confusion you have about this day. In 1912, a big ship left England, and it was carrying at that time the largest shipment overseas of mayonnaise ever done before.
Yeah, it was like 30 tons, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, it was humongous, because at that time Britain was the largest maker of mayonnaise. And I got another side story on that when we get through. But this was the Titanic. It carried a lot of shipment as well as people. Well, we know what happened to the Titanic. The plan was for the Titanic to go to New York, and then it was going to offload this shipment and unload it, and it was to go to Mexico. And it was supposed to arrive in Mexico May 5th. It didn't make it. So the people of Mexico were just disheartened. They couldn't believe it that they weren't going to get their mayonnaise. And this is why we have Cinco de Mayo Day. Has nothing to do with the war. These are stories. They said, wait a minute, we can't let people know that we celebrate or that we mourned the sinking of all that mayonnaise. So we're going to pull up some war things. And that's why there's so much confusion. But it's because Mexico did not get their big shipment of mayonnaise in 1912. So there, we have straightened that up. Now, here's a side note, and it's amazing that it happened today, Cinco de Mayo Day. Here in my hometown is one of the largest makers of mayonnaise in the United States, Duke Mayonnaise. Probably a lot of you out there have eaten Duke Mayonnaise. Well, their plant is here in Greenville, and they use a ton of eggs a day, more than a ton. I'm going to tell you how many tons they use. This morning on the freeway, the interstate, going to the plant, a tanker truck carrying liquid eggs was going to Duke Mayonnaise, and an accident happened in front of them. And okay, what's going on?
I lost you, man. I lost the whole West Coast feed, which includes whatever your YouTube deal is. It just went down, so I got you on Skype if you want to finish the show.
Okay. Well, I'm still going on YouTube. I mean, it's showing up and running. So, and I didn't know you had gone away. I didn't notice that your your thing's gone. So your little icon there.
Yeah, I'm down to 5 streams. I've lost 2 of them and lost YouTube. I don't know what the deal is. I've still got full internet. It just went blank. Your deal did.
Okay. At what point did I go blank?
Oh, you were talking about Mexicans hating losing their mayonnaise.
Yeah, they hated it, and got to the point that they didn't want the world to know that they were suffering, so they invented the war stories for Cinco de Mayo Day. But here, I was talking about the side story. On this day, folks, again, we have the largest maker of mayonnaise here in this area, Duke Mayonnaise, and a tanker truck going to them this morning on the interstate tried to swerve to miss an accident taking place in front of them, and they overturned 47,000 gallons of eggs spilt on Cinco de Mayo Day. Those eggs were going to make mayonnaise. So the pictures were, you saw this yellow everywhere. It was amazing. But anyway, all right. So Tucklow and I are on Skype. I'm still on YouTube, which is okay. So we're finishing up here. Let me throw some things out. We might hold Baltimore. We'll see till Thursday. Well, let me just do that real quick. Number one, those 6 policemen have been charged with first-degree murder, folks. So a fund was set, this GoFundMe, and I know a lot of people that use that, charities and stuff, to raise money. And the one was set up on GoFundMe. It was up for about 20 minutes, and GoFundMe shut it down. They wanted to raise money for a defense fund. A couple of weeks ago, when that bakery in Oregon was told, you owe these 2 lesbians $135,000, GoFundMe had been up for several hours, had raised $100,000, and GoFundMe shut it down. And they, sent everybody, this is how you get your money back, et cetera, et cetera. So folks, GoFundMe apparently is a left-wing, and I'm going to say communist situation where they just pick and choose. And communists do that. Oh, we don't like what you're doing, we're going to shut you down. So I'm going to say it's on there. I recommend not using GoFundMe anymore, people. There are other ways to do that, other programs to use. All right. The charges are bogus. Legal expert after legal expert after legal expert has come out and said this is bogus. This will not stand up in court, and it should never even go to trial. It should be dismissed, et cetera, et cetera. The thing of it is, Mosby had this done before the autopsy even came out. She admitted she had it planned. She had it planned. Well, that's not good. That's called conspiracy, folks. Just like at Duke University, the lacrosse players. All right, so Tucklow is going to take us to a break. And I don't know if on YouTube you can hear this, but I'm going to block off my picture until we get back.
Richard, let's go ahead and just take it from here. I'm having some real audio problems. I forgot that we've got a bunch of storms and bad weather coming in, and because I have a satellite that I use to get all this, it's probably interfering with it a little bit. We should be able to finish up, though.
Okay. All righty. We'll get there. Man. Yeah, see, I'm getting feedback from you now.
How about now?
Yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah, the controls are going crazy. I've only got one console up right now. I'm having to do all 5 feeds on one console, which is not good for me, folks.
No. Okay. Going back to Baltimore. So anyway, the charges are bogus. They were set up. You do not charge people to please the crowd. This is what Pontius Pilate did. He crucified Christ to please the crowd. You don't do this, folks. And this is what Mosby did. Now, like I said, she's been attacked across the country. Not a lot of people are supporting her. Who is supporting her is Loretta Lynch, the new United States Attorney General. She is totally behind this, just like they were in Ferguson and just like they were with Trayvon Martin. This is what they do. They want to make a statement. Now, speaking of statements, read to you what Nzinga said last week, which is atrocious. But then Shabazz, who was the former head of the new Black Panther Party, who had charges dropped by Eric Holder for intimidating voters in the 2008 election, had this to say: the police are nothing but occupiers of our nation, like Israel. So now the police are occupiers. And remember, Nzinga said they're their black nation. Well, it's reiterated, the police are occupiers, like Israel, compared them to Israel. And then, what was their name? I can't remember, and I'm not going to take time to pull it up because we're running out of time. But one of their representatives came out and said doing the curfew was like putting our people on the plantation and not letting them make their own decisions. So here are all these key words coming out here: plantation, black nation, occupation. See what they're doing here, folks? But again, I go back, I listen to the other side of the black community that's coming out and say, this is wrong. What you did was wrong. You should go to jail. Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Obama, you're egging this on. See, I got that in. You know, you're pushing this. This is your agenda, and you're taking part of our people and taking them down a road that is nothing but a road of destruction. You had the blacks actually go out and stand in front of the police in Baltimore so that the other blacks wouldn't throw rocks at them. You had pictured that little kid, black kid, taking water to the policeman. So you have this percentage of black people that are on the warpath. They have been taught hate. They have been taught white supremacy rules, and that all whites are bad, all cops are bad. Even Obama says that. All right. What's the difference between what's going on, preaching to those guys, getting them stirred up in hatred? What's the difference between that and Islam? I don't see the difference. Islam teaches hate. Kill your enemy. Kill them before they kill you. Is that not what they're preaching in the black community? Is that not what we're seeing here? They've been called to arms. And Nzinga says, we're going to kill or be killed. We're going to die or kill. One of the two. Louis Farrakhan called them to arms. We're going to kill. This is where we are on this, folks. So they go out and do this. And then Obama, of course, he's made several statements, but his statement today, this was a beauty. This goes up there with those classic comments. Obama chastised the media for only showing blacks out rioting and looting instead of showing what we're trying to do to help them. All right, go figure. So the media should be out there showing the closed factories and shut down businesses in the Baltimore area, and the rotten schools, rundown schools, and closed schools. And because that is what has come out of liberal policies over the last 50 years. So we should be showing that instead of blacks out rioting and looting and burning. I'm just saying, I'm asking the question. This is somebody's president out there saying this, chastising the media. Why don't you report the truth? You can't report the truth. That's in essence what he was saying. Freddie.
We've got 1 minute, Richard.
Okay, then I'll save the other stuff to Thursday night. We'll be back Thursday. Tucklow will be back tomorrow with his music program. You're probably going to do Richard Fagan, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to. I owe him. I've recouped everything. So yeah, I have Richard Fagan's music on tomorrow night. He may even call in. We'll just see.
All right, well, super. And ladies and gentlemen, again, we're sorry for technical difficulty. Again, they're having problems in Midwest and out West with their lines and stuff with internet. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for supporting us. We love you. Thank you for listening to us and supporting us. And we'll be back Thursday night. Tucklow will be back tomorrow with his music. Have a great 2 days. Tucklow, thank you again for letting me have this platform. Good night, everybody, and good luck. Be safe.